That's the way it should be.
Yep.
Like, we're having a 5 practice prep camp this week. Tom is planning practices for all 6 coaching staffs of U3, U15, and the U18. Well, boy, if somebody was planning, if I was going to do those practices, which they asked me to do, nobody's going to be happy. So I told them, I said, no, I'm going to ask Tom to do it. He's the most experienced guy. His approach is something the other coaches will benefit from. So I've had to tell them this is the association wants some continuity at the prep camp. So everybody's got to follow Tom's plan with an ability to tweak 1 or 2 drills, something that they like or they want to do differently. But that philosophy, I've never heard of it. Having one person plan practices for all 6 teams, because it's a prep camp and the coaches are coming out and they're going to be paid to come out but deliver the plans that are provided. That's a great experiment for them as coaches to do something they've never done before.
Are the kids all the same age?
First
U15,
there's a U18, and then there's, was it 5 practices, and then a U15.
Oh, okay.
they're the same. They're not, those are the ages, U18 and U15. They're very compatible. They can do all the drills.
Yeah.
Tom's worked at both levels.
Yeah.
He's head coach U18 AAA, U15 AAA. And so what better guy is there, having worked at it for as long as he has, to prepare a set of things that could be done differently? And he's doing game-like drills that teach hockey sense.
Oh.
So Peter, you talk about hockey sense, I'm talking elite hockey here. I'm going to ask Tom to explain the one drill that if every coach out there did, and it's been done as a warm-up drill by many teams at the NHL level as a warm-up drill, and it's worked at the U13 level to teach them how to think. And it's called continuous 2-on-2. It's Thomas's drill, a Czech coach who worked with Montreal, Boston, the national women's team. So write that down. It's a 2-on-2 continuous group drill. Tom, you've played with it. You've got the most out of it at the younger age. I don't think the U13s, unless your coaching can do it, but at U15s and 18s, I want every coach to look at that drill and see how much their players are going to be, because it's all about decision making in real time in game situations in a regroup. There's pressure. You don't know who you're going to pass to because of the situation. You've got to do all the individual tactical things to maintain possession. And you got to move the puck and support the puck. Tom, could you just explain that verbally?
Well, it's a regroup drill, and you can have all kinds of variations off it. You can even use it instead of regrouping with the other team, you dump it in and then you forecheck and they have to break out. But it starts like each team has the white defense is at kind of one blue line, and the white forward is at the other blue line to start, and the red's at opposite, the forward and D. So it starts off as just one puck. So the white forwards take the puck and they pass it. You can do it with 2 or 3. You can do it with 1, 2, or 3, to tell you the truth. And they regroup with their own D. And then they're practicing, one player is going to anchor or the other player's in the middle. If you have 3, then, you fill the lanes. And so the D goes D to D. So they're learning to hinge. And I have them hinge, single hinge, a double hinge. And then later I'll have them do a scissor, So one D goes behind, one safe a little better. And they pass to them, and then the forwards now, everybody touches a puck and they pass to the opposite D. So the white forwards pass to the red D, and then they forecheck them. And, you know, about probably 60% sticks in the lanes and all that. But the red D's forwards have followed, and they're getting a breakout. They're getting a regroup from their own D. And so the D has to, you know, they're hinging and get the puck up to them. And, you know, there's a player in the middle, player on the boards. And then they get the puck and they go down and they pass to the white and forecheck, but the white forwards are following. So it just goes end to end. And like when you have a lot of players, like the camp I just did, the camp we're going to do, I'll have 3 forwards, you know, to have less standing around in line. And then you can adapt, and then instead of passing to the other D, you attack the other D if you have at least 8 D, right? Or, you know, if you have 6 D, it can be a 2-on-1 and they attack them. And the new puck comes out and it goes. I don't know if I've explained it very well, but it's really good because it's realistic passing. You know, it's kind of passing you actually do in a game. And I really like it because of that.
Peter?
That when that player forechecks, those 2 players forecheck, if they recover the puck, are they able to take it and go down and score?
No.
Not in the passing part. They kind of give it back to them to do it.
So they'll recover it, maybe dump it in a corner to give that defender a different look to try to break it out.
I'd like to interrupt because you start out just regrouping with no forechecking if you want, teaching them what to do. That's
Sure.
deliberate practice, patterns. The beginning
the D
stage,
would just hinge in the middle with you if you're
like I don't want to get
not gonna do the Thomas.
minor hockey. I don't know if you teach regroup, but I'm just saying that when they regroup naked with no pressure, a regression is a coach is in the middle and pressures, so they have to think about who they're going to pass to. We're not trying to take the puck away. We're getting them to feel comfortable with it, to see the ice, see the pressure, and make the play.
Sure. I get that. I'm just talking about the fact where Tom said that the 2 forwards come and they forecheck. What can they do when they forecheck?
You vary the pressure, right? At the very start, they're just there so that the, you know, D's has to pass in between them. The forwards have to support and get open. And then you can add, you know, harder pressure. And then what I do is, instead of regroup with the other D, you dump it in and you forecheck, and then they work on their breakout. So it's a breakout end to end.
Yeah, I should do something super similar to that with the university with that same thing with the progression. Like you said, originally they're trying to take away passing lanes to make the defenders take what's available to them, and hopefully their wingers or forwards move to create possibilities for them to break the puck out too.
Yeah, and you know, the forwards are supporting the way they should in the game. You know, someone has to be in the boards for the puck side D.
Yeah.
You know, the anchor. And my rule is you anchor there. You have to stay over there unless someone replaces you. So especially with 3, say the centerman swings past the dot, you don't need 2 people there, right?
Right.
So now the forward goes into the middle. You know, so the rotation there, and then you can get the wide winger. Now they have the option of staying wide or slashing across or all kinds of stuff. You know, so you're really teaching. You're working on, you know, real game situation. That's why I like it, because it's, you know, it is a real game situation. And Thomas worked with Florida, and you know, he's coached in the Olympics and all this, and he you know, he did it all the time, and it, you know, just game like. That's why it's so good.
Sure. Yeah, anything game like, right?
There's an acronym for what we're talking about here. The essence of the drill, the difference is it's FIO. They figure it out. They
Well,
look,
that's why it's so good, because other drills, you say A passes to B, who passes to C, and they do this, and they all they're doing is following instruction. On this here, the D has to read, and after you've worked on the one hinge and two hinges and scissors, then the D has the flexibility to do all those things, and the fours have to react, right? And so it's a really good hockey drill that you can add all kinds of progressions to.
it
I'm reading
teaches
it.
hockey sense. That's my point. You're saying, can it be taught? Yeah, if you do stuff like this.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm reading a book called The Boys of Winter that my wife bought me, and it's about the 1980 Olympic team. And it's a pretty good book because it goes into detail, like behind the scenes, Herb Brooks, his philosophies and how he brought his team together. So it's really interesting as far as that goes. But also, I guess when he was coaching University of Minnesota Duluth, there's a player that played for him, Mark Pavlich, who was on the team. And so they had that group, but then they had guys from the East, like guys from, I think BC, BU, that came over to also blend with that group. And they were trying out lines, and the someone from the East went over to Pavlich and said, how are we breaking the puck out? And Mark Pavlich looked at him and said, I start with it, we make passes, and we end up in the offensive zone. Because he said that's how he was taught when he played for Herb Brooks, was you create, and that's how hockey IQ we're talking about there. And quickly, Herb Brooks says he put all the Minnesota guys back together because they were the only ones that at that moment could figure it out. They all did eventually, but at that moment, they were the ones that could figure it out. So they had that hockey sense, and that's 40 plus years ago. You got somebody who was teaching that. So it's been around a while. It's just few and far between. I think there's more people now that understand the importance of that hockey sense in work to teach it with drills like Tom, like you're talking about, and then the points that you're making, Wally.
Yeah.
But it's a good book. Boys of Winter. It's a good book.
Yeah. The breakout to Herb's mentioning, I don't know how he taught it. There's points where you work on retrievals, shoulder checks, and evasive tight turns to create time and space. That's a tactical skill. We don't have it. We have it on the backhand side, maybe, but not on the forehand. It can be taught. Now, can you apply it in a game? Now, can your forward come low to the goal line and support that breakout? Can your center swing low and slow? This is what I'm trying to get coaches to go through the stages of near side options, the tactical skills with the puck and without it. And then they have the wheel, go behind the net. Well, most of the teams that I watched last year, all they did was wheel, which means they were easy to forecheck. They wheeled into 5 checkers. And, you can only watch so much of it, but you want coaches to understand that, read the situation and execute. Don't be afraid to go D to D or double D to D. Teach at the elite level corner reverses and net bank reverses. Those are elite tactics that, hey, I've worked in elite hockey, never saw them.
And all those players have the skill to do that, right? They all have the ability to do that.
Well, my question to you is, you answer it. How much ability do you need? And how do you get that ability?
Listen, I think, honestly, I always felt that if you can't do something technically, you're not going to be able to do it tactically. If you are not able to control and handle a puck on your backhand, you're not going to be able to make those plays. If you're not comfortable being able to pivot in a certain direction, you're going to be limited tactically what you're able to do. So That's why I think the technical piece of your stick skills, your skating skills, which is the bottom of your pyramid, right, is so important, because if you can't do it technically, it's hard for me to expect you to do something tactically if I can't get my body in a position to do it, or I can't get my hands to move a puck to a particular way. I can tell you all I want, this is what I need you to do, but if physically I'm not able to get myself in that position, then you're just gonna end up frustrated, or you're gonna end up doing what you said, Wally. You're just gonna say, you know what, let's just wheel, because everybody can do that, and that's what we'll do. So I think the ability to be really good technically, which is your skills at the base, is the difference maker.
At your
Oh,
level,
for sure. And that, you know, you don't have a power play, right? Unless you can pass.
Yeah,
You know, if
Yep.
everybody can take a pass, then whatever. In our camp there a couple of weeks ago, I took that drill and we had 2 regroups in the neutral zone. And then the third one, the 3 players went 3-on-2 against that D pair, because we had lots of D, right? And the next group just followed them out, and it just worked great. So anyways, I'm gonna send, I know I didn't explain it very well, but I'm gonna send email that thing to you guys.
Tom, when you get those plans done, make sure I get copies of them,
Oh yeah.
because I'm gonna share them. And you know what you said, the double regroup, 3-on-2? Are you gonna try to build that in?
Oh,
Or-
of course. One of my
Perfect.
core kind of thing. I think it's just a great passing drill too.
So
I just emailed that to you because my explanation wasn't very great.
but my point here is, Peter, who in the people you work with can teach those skills, tactical skills? Anybody?
The tactic piece, so so at the youth level, that group, the technical skills is where they struggle, which is your basic. Again, that's where the university players will hopefully come in to help teach those kids, show them how to be able to do things technically, the passing, the shooting, the edges, all that part there. The tactical piece is something that we discuss with the coaches. Like I said, we do those monthly meetings, and a monthly meeting may not be enough, but I'm also available in between that month, and I do have some good conversations with the coaches where we talk about what those tactics are. But I always bring it back, like I say, to that piece of, can your players move in such a fashion, and can they make a pass with their feet moving, so
I
that
gotta let my dog out.
yeah, you can be tactical, so you can get those things done. So as far as who's teaching it, you know, in this organization, it's somewhat collaborative, because when we have our monthly meeting, we all talk about it. And then in between, you know, I'm available to talk about it and to teach it, and try to hammer home the importance of, again, technically sound first, and then tactically second, because you get coaches who will watch an NHL game, come to a practice, try to get their kids to emulate that, and it's a complete failure, and then they just get frustrated that their kids can't do it, but they can't do it because they don't have the technical piece in place.
I'm gonna Hal, I want you to listen to what I learned was how to regress and progress a drill. We call it the whole part whole method of teaching. So the just turning to the right and to the left. Kids who have learned to skate that can stand up and they're learning to stop and turn. Learning to skate is the first class. Then learn to play, learning to skate with a puck and handle it. 4 to 6 years old. So turning the head and shoulders inside leg ahead, weight on it. And I find at the elite level here, there's no problem with the feet, but the head doesn't precede the turn, your heaviest organ. So the progression for 4 to 8-year-olds in your community is easy skating randomly and shouting turn, and they just turn their head and shoulders, the beginning skaters. Now turn the other way. Now this is my fundamental progression to turning, which precedes the progression to stopping is turn until you stop and make snow with that front foot. Now, hell, I can see you're smiling because I'm sure you've done these things. Like, I'm saying it can be taught,
Oh, yeah.
and trying to get people exposed to some of those ideas that learn to skate and learn to play. Because when I watched the U13 team break out by wheeling only, they couldn't do that tight turn with a puck. Well, I'm only working at the U13 level this year, going to use 15 minutes of every practice I come out to from the boards to demonstrate that and teach. The coaches will demonstrate and teach. They're all college graduate, NHL graduate people, experienced. Evasive tight turns without a puck, with a puck, stationary puck protection, free puck racing and battling. That's it. Because I'm watching games and they're okay at breaking out sometimes, but when they get in the zone, they can't sustain possession. They can't keep moving with their head up. There's no passing. It's just one and done. So that's my point. And, you know,
Unknown caller.
talking to all the coaches who are out there trying to learn this, the difference between deliberate practice, which is individual skills, individual tactics, by yourself, one-on-one, can be done repeatedly in a small area, mastered, and then applied. So they need to do more time at that one-on-one stuff. And I've just spent this week, after talking to the U13 coaches doing the plans, about the idea of these are things I'm going to go do during the year when I show up. Be ideal if we could all do them now, but it's going to be easier when they pick the team and they're better players and they're paired up in matchups to do it cooperatively, half speed, competitively, and over speed. So I just wanted to throw that theory out because that's the way we were educated in our day, Hal. Is that correct?
Well, I think they're right. I mean, when I'm teaching cross-unders, cross-unders on the circles, the message is turn your head and look at the middle of the circle. Because the physics are all wrong. If they're coming around the top of the circle and they're looking straight ahead and they're trying to turn to the left or right and their head's looking straight, you know, and I'll tell them, I said, why do I tell you to turn your head? Well, I said, what happens when you turn your head? Well, my shoulders turn and my hips turn. Yeah, that's what you need. That's what needs to happen. But everything starts with your eyes. And, you know, you're going to go where your eyes are going.
Hal, the point of turning the head, why does everything else follow? Like the why of it is important. And we teach those biomechanical principles.
Right.
It's, you want to be off balance in the direction you're going. So your head is a heavy organ, your shoulders go that way, your body weight.
Yeah.
all the
That's what,
force.
and that's what you need to get your weight on that outside edge of the inside leg.
So back in our day here, we used to cover the biomechanical principles. They dropped it and they just said repetition, repetition, repetition. But proper repetition, you can do it. Very few can do it. So I'm I don't know whether it's going to be
But it
a
all
part.
depends who the coach is, Wally. You could watch 5 practices in a row, and there's some great guys out there to do that. And then there's people I just don't know.
Well, why don't
So
they?
I don't know if you can generalize that they don't do this or don't do that. It depends who the coach is. Maybe the
No.
program isn't pushing
How
it.
do coaches learn? They're certified. Back in our day, we were educated to teach whole part whole, breaking skills down. I don't know, hell, if you did it in the States, but you took a rear view, a front view, and a side view.
Yeah.
And it was sort of anal, but boy, for me, it helped me in every sport I ever coached.
Yeah, I
Here's a
don't,
question I want to ask you guys. They're advertising this skating machine. I don't know if you've seen it or not,
Yeah,
where it's kind of, instead of pushing out, they're pushing back at a 45-degree angle
yeah,
for people to stand there and push this. I guess you get pressure when they push on a little glider.
yeah.
And to me, it seems like they're teaching people to skate really poorly.
Yeah.
Because my view is you push sideways. It looks like you push back because you're moving forward, your skate ends up here at the end.
Yeah.
But to stand still and push backwards, and I see it advertised all the time now.
Hal, what do you think?
What do you think?
well, I mean, you're right, and that's kind of how I learned all this, the fundamental skill stuff, and it's the pedagogy of tell, show, observe, and correct. But when I go through all the modules for USA Hockey, there is nothing in there about teaching skating at all. It's about running drills, and they'll show a 10-second clip of a drill, and they'll show another 10 seconds clip of a drill. And there's very little, there's very little attention to the details, or as Lukács says, the details. But the details are so important, and we're talking about turning your head on the circle. I mean, I got out there with high school kids, and they don't do it right because nobody's ever taught them how to do it. And these little things will make them so much better hockey players if somebody would just show them and how to do this stuff. So I see mostly when I see other teams on the ice, they come out and they got a practice plan, and they're just running drills and watching. Run drills and watch. There's no correction particularly, or if there is, they blow the whistle and they spend 4 minutes on the whiteboard. And rather than just talking to the individual player, or sometimes when I'm doing it, I'll call them in real quick and I'll do a quick demo and say, this is the way you need to do it, and this is why. Get back out there and do it. And I tell you what, it works.
Yeah.
It really works, because if you can make your team a 10% better skaters, and if you can't, that's too bad. But if you can't make them better at skating, they're never going to compete at a higher level than what they're at. They won't have a lot of success. Those videos that I have on skating on YouTube, I mean, there's 3 or 4 kids in there that went on to Division I hockey, and one of them, is that kid I coach. He's still playing for the Rangers. So, they all went through all my skating schools. Not that I was a great skater, but I put them in a position where they had to do it right and to do it slow. Because, kids they cheat. The worst skaters go to the end of the line and hope nobody notices them. And then they cheat on the circles, especially with fast feet, rather than this versus this. Well, at some point, you can't turn your feet over any faster on those kinds of motions, and you're giving up so much stride that the other kids will just at some point will just skate away from you. You won't be able to keep up. It works when you're a squirt. It might work when you're a mite squirt. A little bit in peewees, but not much. And if you can't skate, you can't play, for sure.
Well, the details of skating, they really make a difference. But can coaches see them, recognize them, correct them, point them out, and repeat it?
Well, most coaches.
Well, this is a common story. I saw it at the NHL. I see it in minor hockey at every level.
What?
When you do stops and starts, and we have that bag skate lightning drill you're all familiar with,
Well,
sometimes coaches start on the goal, go to the ringette, back to the goal, to the blue, all the way back, stop and start. Well, they stop on their favorite sides, a few of them. You have to have coaches stand on the sideboards. Don't teach them anything. Just make them turn and develop the edges to stop that way.
mm-hmm.
Turn, sit, stop are my teaching points.
Yep.
So turn, sit, stop. I think average coaches can pick up on that.
Oh, I do too. It just has to be, somebody has to help. We have a skating guy in our building.
Yeah.
And I use him. I have him come to practice occasionally. And he and I are running the skating clinics, which start again in about 2 weeks. And he's terrific. He's so good.